Today's guest is Joe Collins. Joe is an experienced life coach and he's been a personal trainer for quite some time now. In today's podcast, Joe's going to talk about mental health, different ways to cope, and all the strategies that are going to help people feel that little bit better. Hope you enjoy this podcast. Please follow on Spotify, click the subscribe button on YouTube, and watch out for the next one. So just before we get into the show, I'd just like to mention a little disclaimer that everything that's said in the podcast is based off my own personal opinion, and the guests were just normal people, the same as you who are listening. So if there's any issues with anything that's been said or you feel like anything's out of line, feel free to DM me on Instagram, and don't feel like anything's personal. As a coach myself, for me, when I started training, I felt like I struggled training, and I feel like I become a coach because I wanted to help people who were in similar situations to me when I started. Is that similar to you, how you become a life coach?
Yeah, so I became a life coach really because when it got to the lockdown in 2020 and a few lads I knew had took their own lives, and obviously I'd been in some dirt places myself, and when the lockdown happened, I'd just basically financially gone broke. I took these loans out for this business that I wanted. It gone bust, and I still had to pay all the money back, even though I didn't have it anymore. So I spent the lockdown thinking, right, I'm sort of at rock bottom here. I need to do something about it. And obviously, seeing lads had took their own lives, I thought I'm gonna have to do something about it here. So obviously put the book out and thought, right, I could do a qualification to go with it, so I can actually start helping people, and people will come to me for help. So I thought, right, it's time to go the next step and become a life coach really, and do some more quals and help people more mentally as well as the physical stuff I'd already done with them.
Yeah, it's amazing. So do you feel like, looking back at, like you said, when you went through those situations yourself, do you think like a life coach, if you could go back and be a life coach for yourself in that situation, would have helped massively?
Yeah, I suppose that's the person I tried to be, mate. I've tried to be the person I need at the time. I mean, don't get me wrong, I had good people around me. I had a dad who was very strong, but sort of couldn't really talk. And then I had a mum who's loving and, always had me back that way. But I never really had somebody who was strong, but knew how to deal with it, knew how to sort of coach me through it. So I've tried to be a mix of both, and like you said, be that person that I know what I'd have needed at the time. Somebody who's strong but knew how to get me through it, had been there and could teach me how to get through it.
Yeah, and I feel like when I was reading your book, it's so common that people, obviously they'll be in similar situations where they might be down mentally, like depressed, anxious, close to suicide, like you said. But they don't think they can speak out, so having someone where they can go and speak to, where, like you said, you're qualified, it just puts them at so much ease, instead of having that awkwardness of, I don't feel like I can tell mum or dad because obviously they don't feel comfortable, they don't want them to think they've let them down, sort of thing. I think it's mega.
Yeah, no, thanks, man. I think as well, especially in this town, it's somebody who's been, I played rugby to an high level, go to the gym. It's more somebody who's tried to look, I suppose, tough in their life and still come out and spoke about it, you know what I mean? When a lot of people in the gym background, the rugby background, it's all tough, don't show you're weak, and then booze at the weekend and drown your sorrows that way, and it just doesn't work. So I'm hoping by someone like me doing it, it encourages people that it's tough to talk, it's tough to deal with your problems, it's weak to not deal with them, hold them in, and then go and self-sabotage your life. And there's many ways you can do it: drink, drugs, gambling. So trying to show that it's tough to deal with your problems, and that's what a real man does: deal with his problems, not sabotage his life and at the people around him.
Yeah. Do you feel like you mentioned, with people sort of distracting themselves, let's say with drink, do you feel like most people do that? Like, obviously, I know you said that in our town that's what a lot of people do. Maybe it's like the camaraderie of, I don't know, playing rugby like yourself, where you played. I'm assuming after the games it was always like, let's have a drink or whatever. I was similar kind of with football. Do you feel like that's very common with most people as
100%.
A starting point?
It's the biggest issue I think with mental health, is how common drink is and how normalised it is. And the amount of people I work with now, I'm trying to get off alcohol, but they find it so hard because the friends, even though they know they've got problems, they're like, just have one drink, you'll be okay. Or, why are you not drinking? And just won't let them leave it alone, because I think it makes them insecure that they're not drinking, because they now don't need to drink to have a good time, and sort of plays on the friends' demons, let's say. And it's so hard for people to get away from. If you're trying to get off cocaine, as long as you stay away from certain people and certain places, you're probably not going to come in contact with it. But how do you get away from drink? Everybody goes out for tea, everybody has family parties, it's there in your face, you can buy it in the shop. And that's probably people's biggest struggle, is getting away from drink.
Yeah, it's a social thing. It's a massive
100%.
social thing, like you said, like parties, meals out, or going on a date. Like drinks always involved.
Yeah.
One of the main things, and I know we've just spoken about it before the podcast, where people might say, you know, well, I like going out for a drink, or that's my sort of escape on the weekend. What do you say to the people who obviously think, you know, I can drink and I'm fine with it, I know my tolerance, or where's that line where you're drawn, where you know you've gone past the limit of I'm addicted?
I suppose it's a good one. I don't think people, enough people realise that they are addicted. I think people can say, oh, I have a couple of glasses at night, or maybe one every night. It's only one. Such and such a body has 10. And I think if I hear people say the thing of, I need a glass of wine or a beer at night to switch off, that's addiction. You shouldn't need it on a Wednesday night after work. You shouldn't need a drink to go to sleep. If you're at that stage, you need help. So, you know, if you can have a couple at the weekend and be okay on a Sunday and it not affect your mental health, okay, you know, you go and crack on. But if you're at the stage where you need a drink every night to switch off, you need help. You're an addict.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the reliance on the drink to sort of wind down or enjoy your night out with your mates.
Or if it's having a negative impact on your life, you're still doing it. If you're, you know, somebody were training every week, they're coming in and they're like, oh, went out again at the weekend, felt crap till Wednesday, not trained, you know, not felt good in myself, been anxious, right, you need to stop it.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a problem. As soon as it's a problem, it's got to go. But a lot of people don't want to admit they've got a problem unless they're drinking it all day, every day.
Yeah, so with someone who's in that situation, what would the first step or the first piece of advice you'd give them to sort of...
Well, they need to do at least, depending on how bad they are, and they need to do at least a period of time off it. And then obviously, as we do, you've got to replace it with another habit. You know, we all need highs in life. We all need to switch off, as we call it. But drink's a negative way of doing it. Obviously, the gym's the positive way. Yeah. So you've got to get away from drinking and then, you know, start working on yourself. The gym's the only way, really, isn't it? Yeah. Or, you know, let's say get into running, or even you do a sport, you know, fair enough, you've got to replace that bad habit with a positive habit and avoid it for at least a period of time, depending on how dependent you are on it at the minute.
Definitely. I feel like with exercise, that's a good one. And I was speaking to someone about this last week, actually, in university. So exercise, obviously, loads of studies have shown like it helps mental health. Like we both know, obviously, personal trainers firsthand, like how much of an improvement you see in someone's confidence, self-esteem, like setting goals and they stick to it, they're disciplined. But do you never think that it could be a distraction from the actual problem?
Good point, this, mate. So I've also got a bit of, let's say, an obsession with, because I was a rugby lad and, you know, played it semi-professional. I know a lot of people who've gone on to play professional. So obviously they train every day, which, as we're saying, is really good for your mental health. But then their mental health is still a bit screwed because they resort to drinking at weekend. So many athletes are into taking drugs at weekend. So I think there's two things you've got to nail.
Yeah.
Exercise is probably the easiest one to do first because it puts you in a more confident state to push yourself to deal with the other problems. And the second one is, you know, like being able to talk about it, being able to work on your mindset outside of training so that you have good habits and, you know, good coping mechanisms for the rest of your life. But very few people get them both right.
Yeah. Do you feel like outside of drugs or alcohol, there is any other main issues that you see with people, like whether it's comparison? I always feel like comparison's a main one of my life's worse than somebody else's.
Yeah.
Especially with social media.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I suppose the drink and alcohol are things that sink people. I mean, I suppose everybody, aside from that, has always got issues going on. Life is problems in it, and you have a problem, and it's, right, how do I deal with that? But yeah, I suppose comparison, social media these days, a lack of purpose, mate, in it, you know. I believe anybody can survive anything they go through if their life has a purpose, if their life has a meaning. You know, when I was getting into reading, I read a lot of Auschwitz survivors' books, and they used to say that the people who survived Auschwitz, the people had a meaning for their life, whether it was because there was a doctor in the camp or, you know, they had a purpose, but the people who didn't just, you know, died kind very quickly, yeah.
And that was something you spoke about in your book, actually. I remember reading it, how having that purpose, setting that goal, it's what spurs you on. It sort of takes you out of that bad habit, because at the end of the day, if you are in a bad habit, the sort of only thing you revert back to, if it is drink or if it is drugs, that's all you're going to do, because that's what you're so used to doing. It's like it is a habit. So having that habit where it's like, right, I'm exercising, I've got a goal set, I want to run a 10k, it's like, I need to work towards that. There's something there that's keeping you sort of going. Yeah,
no, we all need to be obsessed with something, don't we? You know what I mean? People are obsessed with food, say drink, drugs, or you're obsessed with training, or obsessed with helping people, aren't you? You know, it's a natural thing and not a bad thing, but again, it's channeling it the right way and getting up every day being obsessive, wanting to get better and help people, or to get up every day obsessed for the weekend.
Well, one of the things that I did want to touch on when we spoke about comparison is like I've had people close to me who suffer with mental health issues. I've been through certain things myself where you feel down in the dumps. You obviously, like you say, life hits you hard.
Yeah.
But I feel like some people don't speak out because of that comparison where there's sort of this weird like mental health leaderboard where if somebody's suffering more than you don't want to speak out because you don't feel like you're in such a situation as they are. Do you know what I mean?
Very
As
good
if
point,
like,
yeah.
I don't know, somebody might have gone through the worst experience in their life, and to you, your experience isn't as bad as theirs, so you've got no right to speak about it.
Yeah.
And it comes back to the point of like not being able to speak to mum or dad, or not being able to speak to friends because you're kind of embarrassed by it. Have you ever had that sort of?
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, and that people think, I don't want to open up because it's not as bad as having someone die on them and stuff, but some people may disagree with me on this, but I think life sort of averages out. Some people go through the problems early, some people go through them late, some people go through horrendous things at one time, might lose people in their life close to them, but it sort of averages out over the course. I don't think life's particularly meaner to one person than the next. It might be different situations, different things happen, but life averages out. So if you think it's something small but you're still struggling with it, speak out about it, because it doesn't mean that it's not a big thing for you and having a big impact on your life. And like you say, it'll average out over time, and you've got to deal with it, because if you don't deal with it, and kill the monster while it's small, it's going to get worse and worse, and worse things will happen then, and you will really need to deal with them.
Yeah, definitely. The kill a monster when it's small is like very true, because I feel like I say, some people will be in that rut and they don't want to speak out, like I say, because they're embarrassed, and then it just leads to more problems down the line, and those bad habits kick in then, and then they're going down that rabbit hole of like, can't get out of it now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because they've not spoken out at the start. If they lead it to build up, it's impossible. Then it gets even harder.
Yeah, I suppose going back to the thing about people just having one drink at night, like the problem's not too bad, but when something happens, God forbid the partner leaves and someone dies, what they're going to turn to? They turn to it as their escape mechanism when they've had a stressful day at work, but something really big happens. What they're going to turn to? They're not all of a sudden going to stop drinking. They're going to go, right, drink more, because we all need like friends in life, obviously, or something to make us feel good. And people get lonely, sort of drink becomes the best friend, because it changes the state where, in the gym we have our friends who we see who make us laugh, or the gym itself that changes our state. People sort of become best friends with alcohol because it's the only thing they think that makes them feel good, when really it's the thing that's, going to destroy their lives.
Yeah, and speaking on male loneliness, there's actually a study which we looked at in university last year, and it's shown that 30 years ago, 27% of men said that they had 12 close friends as a minimum, whereas last year, 15% of men said they had no close friends at all. So male loneliness is like, and female loneliness as a whole is a massive thing. And like you said, reverting back to a drink, it's so much easier than going and seeing your mates, because people just don't do it as much. And they don't realise that whether it's social media, whether it's sort of the stigma that's around our sort of time of living, people don't go and see their friends as much, so the loneliness is massive.
Well, I suppose that people have got busy, and like I said, people connect on social media, so they get a bit lazy with it, but I think, and that's the beauty of the gym again, is you can go any night of the week for an hour and bump into people that might not necessarily be the best friends. You might be busy running to a class, but that one joke, that little conversation is a lifesaver, and it's something you need every day, isn't it?
Yeah, you need someone to talk to, like you said, just connecting with people, networking, where you are in a situation, like you said, where you can have a bit of banter, you can talk to someone about their day, even just listening to someone else can be so like
it's
amazing.
A funny story, but I suppose people are working from home a lot more, aren't they? And look upon it as a positive of not travelling and saving money, but I don't know how people do it. Like, obviously Nathan, who you work with, his online coach, it's just something I could never do, the being at home all day. Even though it's now the growing thing in the gym, I just couldn't imagine doing it, because I love that, just being back to back, being up in the morning, different people, even though you know what it's like, mate, they come in all sorts of states, down the dumps, tears, angry, depressed, what have you, but that constant conversation, makes my day a better place and life a lot easier. And I love just being face to face, so
it's definitely beneficial. Like, going off male loneliness, I was reading another article which said that 75% of all suicides are from men, and the most common death for anyone under the age of 35 is suicide. And what's even scarier is anyone aged from the 10 to 19, that's the most common death, is suicide. It's like, it's a big issue, and people who are aged 10 to 19 and people who are aged under 35, they're not even starting their life yet. Like, they're either at the start of their life or they're halfway through it, and they're going through these problems, and like you said, they don't realise that there is a way to cope with them, and their life's going to get better if they speak out.
Yeah, and as well, the big thing I'd say to anyone is them problems could be the biggest advantage in your life. You know, like, I suppose you get onto a bit where I talk about the drug dealer. So me going to taking drugs was the biggest thing I hated myself for, because it wasn't who I was. Obviously, felt sorry myself, went into an angry state and went upon that path. But I didn't speak about it for years because I was distraughting myself that I'd done it. So now it's like, right, I'll go and attack drug dealers and actually use it to get the message out, which, you know, is needed, because that is, in my opinion, the primary cause, but also makes me feel better that I'm using it to my advantage instead of me eating myself up over it. I've got the experience of it. I can talk about it. I can turn it to a positive. So people don't want to believe that when they're in that bad place, but it could be your biggest advantage to you.
Yeah, like you said, definitely. So if someone is down in the dumps, they can then tell their story and relate to so many other people who are going through it themselves. Because like we said at the start, so many people don't want to speak out. So just bumping into someone who's been through something similar to you, it's massive. Like you said, if you've had a bad experience with drugs, and then somebody's having a bad experience with drugs themselves, and you speak to them, they're like, oh my God, I thought it was just me. That's one of the most common things I hear is like, I didn't realise other people are suffering with these things.
Yeah, well, to be honest, the words that changed my life forever, Dylan, were, remember, life is always happening for you, not to you. And I thought, right, obviously I wasn't meant to be a rugby league player, wasn't meant to own them gym businesses. My purpose in life was doing this, but without them things happening, I couldn't have done it. So really, them things I hated myself for were the best things that ever happened to me. I wouldn't be having this conversation with you now, wouldn't have met all these people I have through going around doing talks. So if you're suffering right now and thinking, oh, this really bad thing happened to me, use it to your advantage. Use that pain. Pain only goes one way or the other. Drags you down, or it can be a great form of motivation. Use it as motivation to drive you forward, and use it to your advantage. Let it be that thing that separates you from other people, whether it's because you're talking about it or because the pain inside is that bad. It gives you more motivation than other people. Let it be that thing that is your advantage and not a disadvantage. Hard thing to choose, but that's going to be the difference maker for you.
Yeah, so like when you're down in those sort of negative situations, you're in those dark places, kind of trying to always pursue to be far away from that position again. And also anything that happens again, say an experience comes and it's a negative experience, it falls you to, I don't know, turn to drink, and you find yourself in a similar situation. It's like, I've done this before now, I know how to get out of it. Like, once it's the same in the gym. If you bench press and you lift 100 kilos and then the next week you do 105, you're improving, but then you might fall back to 90 one week. You might have had a bad week training, but it's like, no, I've been here before, I can get back up to 100, I can get back up to 105. And it's kind of going through those experiences and learning from them instead of letting them eat you up.
Yeah, well, the mind's like anything else. It's a muscle, isn't it? Once you get used to bouncing back or having things go wrong, it doesn't affect you as much. But obviously the first few things that go wrong, if you don't really know how to deal with them well, you are going to find it harder to step forward with. But like I say, when you get to that stage, you've knocked a few things off and you've been through things don't bother you as much. You know, people can say whatever they want to you. People can try and drag you down. Your girlfriend can leave you. You can lose your job and like, right, this is life. Challenge me again. I'm moving forward. You know, sod it. I'm not going back. And that's, if you take that action and strong with yourself, that's the way you become. And then life can never hit you but life is always going to throw things at you. But you've got to get to that stage where you just bounce them off and keep moving forward. Yeah.
So going back to obviously like 15% of men have no close friends. 75% of all suicides are from men. Do you feel like there's a reason that more men are suffering from sort of mental health issues, depression, close to suicide?
Yeah, well, obviously the thing of not talking, people see as a stigma, and men, you know, women do talk more. It's natural, women will talk more and bitch a bit more. That's not a bad thing. I'm not saying bad about it. They are a bit emotional and do, and that helps them. That's why there's less women kill themselves and more men, because men are more likely to carry on with it, joke it off, and drink it away at the weekend. So I suppose it's past habits creeping up on people, but obviously now there is, you know, more challenges with social media, whether it's, you know, the drugs being involved at the weekend too, and I don't know whether it's some of them losing the kids, you know, through things going wrong in the relationship, splitting up with wives and things being a bit more challenging that way. I suppose there's a number of things you could pin it on, really, to be honest, but what one stands out most, yeah, it probably would be the way they deal with things, really.
Yeah, kind of just brush it away. It's the most sort of, I feel like, man thing to do is if there's a problem, even when it's like an illness or a cold or something like that, I'm not going to doctors, or I'm not going to dentist, I'm not bothering. And then it's same with the mental health. It's like, no, it's fine, I'll just leave it, I'll just crack on. And then, like we said, you end up in that rabbit hole. You don't kill the monster when it's small. It builds up, it gets bigger, and then it's like, right.
Yeah, it's unbearable, and they just don't think there's a way out instead of, say, killing it when it was smaller.
Yeah, so with obviously someone who's in that situation, I think we kind of touched on it, but I want to hear your opinion again, where they are like close to, let's say, suicide, or they're really, really down in the dumps. What's like the best piece of advice you could give someone?
They've got to find someone to talk to, haven't they? They've got to find someone to talk to, let it out. But then also, when you've talked to that person, you've got to do something about it. And that's the hard part, as the old saying goes, nobody's going to come in and save you. There are going to be people there who can guide you, who can tell you what to do to get out of it and listen to you. But unless you do anything, nothing's going to change. And that's the hardest bit about it. But there's so much information out there now. So if you really want to change, the information's there. You know, with social media, with people like ourselves, the information's there. But unless you take them steps yourself, you're not going to feel better.
Yeah.
So first, please reach out. But secondly, you need to realise it's still in your hands. You know, you can go out and buy that book, get that advice, but unless you do it, things ain't going to get better. So you've got to have that strong, honest conversation with yourself. Is right, head up here. You need to help yourself a bit here, you know.
Yeah, I think that's so true. Like, take the horse to water, but it won't drink the water. It's kind of like, I do feel like there's a massive self-responsibility issue, not just when it comes to mental health, when it comes to making progress, or when it comes to, I don't know, bettering relationships with close ones, family, partners. It's like people will do something wrong or something won't go wrong in their lives and they'll look to blame straight away. Yeah. There's no like, oh, it's me, it might be me. Do you know what I mean? It's always somebody else's problem or something else is going wrong.
And that's where most people are unhappy in their lives, isn't it? If you want to blame others, like I say, you can't control how other people treat you or what happens in your life, but you control your actions and how you respond to things. And if you just want to keep blaming other people for where you are in your life, you're still going to be sat there unhappy and depressed. But if you take the thing of, right, somebody might have been bad to me, this bad thing might have happened, but I could have dealt with better, or I can still get up today, I can still train, I can go and pursue my dream career, I can still be happy. I still have a choice to be happy, no matter who's died on you, who's left you, who's mistreated you. You still have the choice today to go out and have a smile on your face and find gratitude in small things that go on. This is probably how I seem to wind most people up, is people still want, you know, to blame the government, blame the parents. But, you know, you could take two people who've been through the exact same thing. One of them makes the decision of, all this has happened to me, you know, I've got no other choice but to be an addict, to, you know, to not have a job, poor me. Or the other person says, right, I'm not staying in this shit all of a life. I'm moving forward. There's no way I'm staying in this bad place, you know, and staying in the place I've lived most of my life. And it's that decision again, isn't it? But if you want to stay in the state of blaming others, your life's just going to be miserable for all of it.
And you're not going to get anywhere. It's just going to lead to constant excuses. Definitely. I feel like that's absolutely spot on what you said. Most people, no matter the government, no matter the situation, those things are going to keep happening. You could say, oh, it's to do with taxes or the price of mortgage rates. If it's a financial issue, it could be to do with, oh, my girlfriend's not happy with me. It's like, if you stay exactly the same, the result's going to be exactly the same. It's the same in the gym. If you do the same repetitions in the same way every week, you're always going to lift the same weight, the same amount of reps. But if you make a change, other things will start changing then. It's not just going to look at the chance, be like, right, everything's going to be amazing for your life now. If you was winning the lottery, £1 million, and your habits were to go towards drink, who's not to say that you're going to spend it going drinking? What are you going to do with that money? Like, you have to be so self-responsible if you want to make a change. I think this
did a study in America, and they studied people who won the lottery against people who became paraplegics, and after 2 years the paraplegics were happier. You know, and everybody talks about, oh, they want to win the lottery, that'll change their life. That won't change your life. Changing the way you speak to yourself and changing how much responsibility you take over your own life, that's the only thing that's ever going to change your life.
Yeah, well, there's, like you said, there's people in, there's monks who have no money at all. They don't even, and they're the studies have shown they're the happiest people on earth, and they make no money. They just meditate and they're just happy with themselves, happy with the life that they live. And that's the major thing, is, like you said, self-talk, and gratitude, probably one of the biggest ones which you mentioned there. And like, going off that, is there any ways that you sort of implement gratitude into your life? Yeah,
so I have a routine every morning, mate. I learned it off Tony Robbins. You ever heard of Tony Robbins? You know, he had a massive impact on my life just reading his books. So I do a routine every morning of, I put some music on, think of 3 things I'm grateful for, you know, like really step into them, imagine them moments I'm grateful for happening again. Then I spend a minute thinking about things changing my life, so me working my way out of all this debt and being able to get my own house. And then I focus on 3 of my goals happening, you know, step into them for the minute, and it really just sets you up for the day, because your brain doesn't know the difference between you imagining something happening and actually happening in real life. So if you're all the time rethinking your worst days or rethinking bad things happening in the future, you're going to experience them emotions and feel that way. But if you get into that state of imagine your goal happening and really being in it, you can experience that ecstasy every day, which then sets you up for a better day. You're in a more confident state, more happier, and attract better things through your day. So that's my gratitude
Yeah,
routine.
that's class. I myself, I've journaled in the past, and I think it's amazing because it takes you to the moment, the current moment. You can't step away from it.
Yeah.
And I seen a quote. I think it was a reel on Instagram actually, where it was like, living in the future, you'll always be anxious. Living in the past, you'll always be depressed.
Yeah,
but if you
yeah.
can live in the now, then you're obviously going to be a lot better stead because you're not worrying about something or you're not overthinking something that's happened in the past all the time and reliving that sort of situation.
Yeah, I suppose that's one of the things with training, isn't it? Because when you're out of breath or struggling, it makes you stay in the moment. You can't think of anything else, innit? So that's how it's a break for you for an hour. You're not worried about what's going on at home or your work because you can't do because you're that busy trying to get through this next set, get through this next run. And, you know, that's how it's a positive break, innit? And that's why people enjoy it so much because they get out their head for an hour.
And, like, I'm imagining you'll have the same experience when you played rugby, like crossing over the line. I know when I played football and you're on that pitch, it's like, you can't think about anything else then. You're just playing. It's such a good, like, I was picking up a sport or anything that's going to clear your mind, like even going reading or going studying, like, when you're doing something, that's going to, I don't want to say distract you from the issue, but it's going to keep your brain occupied in a lot better way.
Yeah, and being productive into it, but it's not even distracting because it's like, you know, if you've got a problem, you can't just sit still for an hour in the morning and make a good decision about how to attack that problem. Firstly, you've got to change your state. You've got to get yourself thinking better, so you take a more risky, positive move, which increases the chances of that problem going. So you've got to train, you've got to go for a walk, you've got to do some gratitude, you've got to have a positive conversation with a friend, and then go and attack the problems to be more likely to solve the problem. If you just like roll out of bed, sat there in the morning, oh, what do I do? How do I attack this problem? You sat on the couch, your brain's going to be foggy. But if you go and try and attack it after training hard, when all them good chemicals are running around you and you're feeling more confident, you're more likely to find a better solution and the problem to go.
Yeah, 100%. Do you feel like nutrition and training go hand in hand when it comes to obviously bettering someone's mental health? Like,
yeah. The amount of people who you don't eat all day or live off Greggs and sugar, then they expect to feel good and they're like, wondering why they're feeling anxious. Well, if you ate all day, you've not got anxiety. Your body's crying, is give me food.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A lot of people's problems could be cured with just eating normally, healthily, and training every day.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like you said, people who don't eat anxious and then they don't realise that it's because they've not eaten, or with anxiety, it's a case, it could be excitement, it could be stress, so many different emotions that it could be related to, where you could feel a certain way, but it's actually something else. And it's just that, like you said, you're not in that state where you understand what's going on, and you need to get yourself into those positions so many times to actually realise where you're at mentally. Like, training your mind is a muscle, and it's so important to train it just as much as you would your body in the gym. Like, people don't realise that, and they should.
Well, you hear a lot with like people, you know, say getting exam stress or get really bad anxiety for exams. Are you really, or is it just fear?
Yeah.
But that's how you spin fear. I still get fearful when I stand up in front of people, speak in front of people. I get a bit fearful before I go and do a class, but it's not a bad thing. No. I need it. That's energy coming, but it depends how you frame it. If you get all scared and don't want to feel that fear, you're never really going to attack life and probably going to regret your life. But if you see that fear, it's a good thing, because when you're feeling that fear and doing things that bring it up, you're going to be in the present moment. It's going to be something that scares you, but you grow from and feel really good about yourself. So you need to find out where that anxiety is and run at it, not run away from it.
So with that, say there was somebody who was having that experience where they're feeling anxious, like you said before, doing a talk at work, let's say, or doing a speak in front of someone, and they don't realise it is excitement. How would you sort of put that across to someone?
Well, I suppose that's a simple way of putting it across, but trying to get them to reframe it as excitement. But then I'd sort of have to spin the mindset, because in the mindset that all they'd be thinking about is what if I fail, what if I stutter. But I have to, there's ways I can spin them where, you know, one, get them to think about, well, what about if it goes right? Imagine yourself right now, if you've got that talk coming up, how are you going to feel after you've done it if it goes right? What would that feel like? Step into that for a moment, experience that. Or, like you say, get them using the body first, get them moving. I even do a lot with like power postures, you know, putting your hands on your hips, standing upright, looking up, you know, it decreases cortisol by 30%, little things like that. Or even like, my younger sister did a speech at uni in her course the other week, and she's not, I suppose, outgoing speaking wise as me, a bit quieter. So I got her to act like me. I said, so she read it to me, and she was like head down and said, right, Luce, I said, pretend you was me doing it. And she found it funny, so acted like me, because she knows obviously that I'm dead confident at it, and spoke it better. So there's that thing of, you know, reframing it, or you could imagine being someone more confident, acting more confident confident does actually make you feel more confident. It doesn't take the fear away, but if you can act with your body more confident and just try and speak more confident and more enthusiastic, your mind will follow and you will feel a little bit better with it.
Yeah, definitely. I think they're amazing techniques that people can definitely use. And for myself, I know I suffered with anxiety in the past when I used to play football, like before a big game. I remember reading Mark Manson's sort of like I've Not Given a Fuck book.
Right, yeah.
And one of the main things that I took from that book, which was related to lowering anxiety, was what if the worst thing could possibly happen? And if you actually think about the worst thing that could happen, like for me, I was getting anxious about playing a game and not playing well.
Yeah.
So in my head, like, all right, we get beat 6-0. What would happen? I'll go home, have my tea, and I'd get up the next morning and I'd crack on again. There's no matter what, if the worst thing possibly happened, it's always going to be fixable. There's always a way you're going to be able to get around it.
It's a great way of looking at it, mate. Yeah.
I think most people don't think like that. They just think that like the be all and end all is everything. You get a letter through the post that you owe money or there's a bill or there's something like that. And like you said, being in debt, it's like, what's the worst thing that could happen? You're still going to get up tomorrow. You know what I mean? It's insane how many people disregard the simple things. Like that's why gratitude's so important. Like if you're waking up in the morning, you're doing a lot better than most people. Yeah. Massively.
100%, mate.
So I do want to go back and talk about some of your posts, mate. Just before we wrap this up, with obviously like we spoke about alcohol and drugs being an issue, and I know that you said that your Ibiza video got a lot of stick. I do want you to sort of describe how you would deal with people who send you those messages from your own personal level. Like if people send you the messages, because I know there's people who would
send me which messages. Sorry,
if somebody messages you and says like, I know you mentioned you need to get in the session or whatever, like how would you deal with that if somebody doesn't agree with what you're saying on social media? Because I know some people with suffering it where they might post something and they feel uncomfortable to post because people might disagree. How would you feel about posting, I don't know, say, drinking might lead to suicide, but some people think that drinking's an escape for them, and then they say to you, oh no, drinking's fine for me, Joe, like I've got no issue with it.
How would I deal with it? Well, I suppose I've got that trust in myself that I've been there, I know it, and you know, it's my entire life now dealing with people and seeing the issues. You know, these things I say, I've not just become a raving idiot. It's because I'm on the street, call it, dealing with it.
Yeah.
You know, I go to the Brick, the homeless shelter, working twice a week now. I deal with the people and I see it, and when people take their own lives in Wigan, people tell me now, and it's 80-90% the same story. Drugs at the weekend, end up taking their own life. Obviously something might have gone on before, they might have had something horrible happen before, but there's people who've had the same thing go on and not turned to that and are still here and happy, but they've turned to drugs, and then either same thing, all the mates are on the coke at the funeral. Like, what the fuck? I mean, and I can talk about it too because that was me at 2021, you know, angry because my mates jumped me at 16, 17. I let it destroy my head, anger, ruin my rugby career, you know, felt sorry for myself, poor me, this happened, messed up my dreams, you know, started going out, wanted to make myself feel better, turned to drink and drugs, had a bit of a scare after taking 2 ecstasy pills. Luckily woke the hell up and never had a drink since. I speak about it because I was that person, feeling sorry for myself, blaming others, angry at myself, angry at the world. But my life changed and said, right, this is your fucking fault.
Yeah.
That's all I had to do. It's my fault.
Yeah.
And your choices are making your life bad. You still got lots of good things going on. Yeah, that happened. Yeah, you messed up your rugby career. Yeah, your mate said that to you, but they didn't make you mess up your career. You did it. You could have just got up the next day, sort of, I forgot about it, or gone and got therapy, spoke about it, and let it go. But no, you didn't, Joe. You went and got angry, thought about them every day, trying to get them back, got sent off twice, played, ruined your career when you had a good opportunity. You know, you decided to go out. All right, then people around you were taking drugs. You didn't have to. You could have gone somewhere else, had some other mates. These are all your choices that have led you to be here. So that's what I'm saying to everyone. It's your choices that are going to decide your life. And I say, only losers go to Ibiza and festivals. The good people inside, but they're making losers' decisions. It's that taking responsibility. These things you are doing right now are making you a loser.
Yeah.
I was a loser. You making better decisions will make that you are not a loser, that you're a winner, you're doing well in life, you're happy. But them things of so many people are doing it right now, and it can't be the norm anymore. You can't do them things and expect to feel good. And you've got to look around and think, why are so many young lads killing themselves to do this at the weekend? This is drugs, you know, this is drugs. These are things that have come from wherever. You know, you're not well, you go to the hospital, they give you drugs. They're, you know, that prescribed for a reason, because you're not supposed to have them every day, because they can kill you, because They have side effects and aren't good for you. You need to take that responsibility. Although it might seem funny at the time, it might give you that buzz, that little feel good. It is fucking wrong.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be doing it. They're not there for that. They're illegal for a reason, to protect you. Unfortunately, they probably give people that little high of it's something I shouldn't be doing, or this is exciting. And people buzzing up off that. I'll say go and buzz off something else. Go and buzz and help someone change their life. Go and buzz, run a marathon, do an IROX. Do something that doesn't take doing something that could kill you. You know, you take something wrong, you're dead, or could ruin your mental health, or could lead you into debt and ruining your family's life. Go and do something that'll give you a high that doesn't cost you any of that, and will be a good day without, you know, any negatives from it.
But one thing you did touch on there was therapy, and I do want to ask about that. Is that something you feel like does benefit some people?
Yes, so I did have it, but what I'll say is having therapy once a week and not doing anything else is like having a PT once a week and not going to the gym the rest of the week.
Yeah.
That's the best way to describe it, yeah. Which we deal with so much. But go and talk about it, yeah. But if then you spend the rest of your week just talking about it and you go back to the therapist, say the same shit the week after, it's going to be useless for it. But if you want to go and talk about it for an hour with a therapist and then go out and try your best to change your life, and then go back the next week, tell them how you're getting on, shed tears, do whatever you've got to do because it's that hard, you know, you're fighting that hard to turn things around, go and do it. But if you're just going to go and do it, talk about your problems for an hour, then take no action the rest of the week, apart from maybe saying the same things over again to someone else. It's a waste of your time and money. But if you want to go and have therapy, talk about it, and then take action and use it as something to bounce off, something to get your things off your chest and make you feel a bit better, so like the gym, you can take action, go for it. But again, it's in your hands. If you're not taking action, you're going to waste your time with it.
Yeah, and I think what you said there, if you're going to therapy and you're doing nothing about it, and then you're reliving that situation over and over again, you're going to be in that position again. You're literally putting yourself in that situation even worse, because you're taking yourself back there into so much detail with someone, and then if you're not doing anything outside of it and you're constantly thinking about that, it can lead you to end up in a worse place. And I think what you said's like spot on. If you are going, it is like going to a PT and not following your nutrition plan or not training any other days of the week. It's like 1 hour a week won't make a massive difference if you don't go and then make the changes.
Yeah, because I felt when I was going, I'd feel better for that day, make better decisions, but then 2 days after, I was back in that spin, and I thought, it's because I'm not doing anything about it, you know what I mean? You can't just rely on it to take you forward. That's got to be something, like you say, where you can get things off your chest. Someone will listen to you and then give you advice on how to move forward, and you can think things through together, and then you go and take action. So, you know, it's something, again, I did for probably 2 years until I thought, right, I'm not moving forward here because I'm not doing the rest of the stuff the rest of the week.
Yeah, well, I've done therapy myself, mate. I've been and gone and seen a therapist, and for me, I wasn't having major sort of issues mentally. I just wanted to learn about the mind and understand why I'd think certain ways in certain situations, so that if anything did crop up, I could sort of battle it to a certain degree or just get through it. And I feel like that's a big part to take from therapy as well. Like, you learn so much. It's like an education. 100%. Again, like we said, training the mind. It's like if you want to better yourself in the gym, for people who might be struggling with some things mentally but they're not sure, should I go to therapy, should I not? You're going to learn loads anyway. So it's kind of like, at least you understand your brain a little bit more.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there are a lot of positives from it, but again, there's only you can save yourself and really turn it around. There's all these people around you that can help you get better in the gym, help you with your mind, help you, you know, with your uni work or whatever your job you want to go to. But again, it's still all down to you. These people can just help you get there faster.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking on drugs, but not recreational, more what you get prescribed, what are your thoughts on, say, antidepressants or sort of prescribed drugs to help people with mental health issues?
Being straight, a waste of time, and why the problem is still the same. Why, even though now, for a couple of years, people have talked about, you know, you can talk now, mental health's a thing, but nothing's changed. Like, use an example, wasn't really into COVID jabs or what have you, but whatever side you're on of it, things have changed. COVID's still about, we don't need to be in lockdown, no one's dying. But antidepressants have been there for 20 or 30 years, and things have just kept getting worse. But because it's beloved NHS, which, you know, we're also grateful for, or, you know, doctors give it us who we respect, rightly so, but something's not working because nothing's changing. And then I started to look into it, because obviously I started putting the post out, and people who worked in the NHS would give me stick for it. So I started to look, and it was crazy what I found of really that they did studies and they were no better than a placebo. Some people did feel better for a bit, but it was because they were told they were going to make them feel better, and the amount of people who can't get off them because they're like, it's like getting off cocaine because they get that addicted to them. The amount of people who comment on my thing saying, I've been manic depressed for 30 years and spent all these years on antidepressants. So, well, they're obviously not working, are they? And finally, I think the other week they released studies to say exercise is better than them, and that was the mainstream media, which is usually so, positive for anything, let's say doctors, NHS-wise. But they just don't work, and actually been shown they can actually make people feel worse. If people listen to this and don't want to believe me, look into Irving Kersh's work, and it showed that how, like, the drug companies say they have to do 10 tests to see if these drugs work. Say only one of the 10 tests work, they can just push that one through, and then the drug companies pay half the FDA's wages, the people who clear and say the drugs are okay. So it's obviously very, very messy, and anybody can argue me all they want. It's not working, and that's what I'm saying to people. It's not working. Things ain't changing. Something needs to be done where in 4 or 5 years' time, say, oh, mental health's got better. Not many people are taking their lives, but with antidepressants, just more and more of them are getting sold. I mean, obviously, doctors are probably too busy, overworked, and it's just like, if I give them these, they might not take their lives. I'm not having to go at them, but it's a system that's wrong.
Yeah.
And if we want things to change, like we say in the gym, you want change, you've got to make massive changes, haven't you?
Yeah.
Things are absolutely desperate, but nobody wants to make the massive change, or the people at the top don't want to make a massive change in the system. Until they do that, it's not going to change.
Yeah, and I feel like what you said, the sickness is a business at the end of the day. Like, there's a massive financial side to it as well, which people don't sometimes think about and don't realise. But like you say, it's not doctors' fault. It's not anyone who's prescribing it's fault. Or if you are taking antidepressants, like, they might have some benefit, but like you said, you don't want to become reliant on them.
And they do numb you. That's what they're there to numb you. But unfortunately, for things to change, you can't be numb, because you need to realise what the problem is, what's making you anxious, what's making you depressed, what are your life you need to work on. Say, right, because we need to go and attack that. So if they're numbing you and you can't realise what's wrong, you're not going to fix the problem. So sometimes you probably still have to feel that anxiety and think, right, my anxiety's there. That's, it's a warning sign from my body or from my life. I need to change it. If I'm getting anxious around people, with friends, or it might be because them friends ain't good for you, they're negative people to be around. Or getting anxious at all, maybe there's some problems at home you need to fix with your partner. Don't drug it and mask it, because the problem's still going to be there when you come off them.
Yeah.
I've never met anyone who has just sat there, took antidepressants, got better.
Yeah.
Some people might have taken for a bit, but they've gone to the gym, gone walking, made a change in their life, all probably stem through doing them other things and got better. But nobody's sat in their house. If it's this so-called chemical imbalance theory, which is obviously bullshit, nobody sat in their house, took antidepressants, and gone from feeling very anxious to being happy. It just never happened. Show me the person, bring them to me, because it's just not happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the evidence is there, but because it is, doctor prescribed, it's like, oh, you can't say that. And people feel offended if they're on it. So you can't say, I've been on for years and I'm manic depressed. There's people in your place who've got out of it, but all through taking these things. I ain't beating you up. I'm saying, have an honest look in the mirror. There are better ways for you to get out of that place. And I want you to get out of it. I don't want to beat you up for it. I want you to stop taking them drugs. I want you to feel happy. And that's why I throw it out there. These things I say, conversations I put on posts, are conversations I had with myself, and conversations I have with myself every day. Yeah. Whenever I'm struggling with something, I say, right, I can talk to people, oh, but come on, Joe, what's the issue? You need to fix it. You need to work on it. What do you need to work on more? What do you need to do to get better? And, my motivation every day, probably 5 people now who I've known at a period in my life who took their own lives, and one lad grew up with me and lives round the back from me, and I walk past his parents every day on a walk, and I see the pain in their face. And my motivation every day I do this, and this is why I push the strong things out and get a lot of stickers, I want to see as many people still sat around with their family at night having tea because of my work. I'm not bothered about the shit I get. I'll deal with it. I've been there. I'm okay. And it's about stopping people and families waking up or having tea, having birthday meals, and not having the son, daughter, brother, sister there. That's what kills me. And I'll do whatever it takes to try and stop that. So the message isn't to hurt you. It's for you to take that responsibility that's in your own hands. And it's a conversation on myself the other day, and to stop that happening, because it's disgraceful how far it's got to. Like, how can it get any worse? Is it, 200 suicides a year in Wigan?
Yeah, 200 suicides.
In 300,000, and everyone's like, oh, just sort of getting on with things. You can't keep taking the same action, keep saying the same things. Like, when's, the people at the top going to wake up to how bad it is, and this process isn't working?
Yeah, nothing changes if nothing changes.
Yeah.
100%, mate. Going back to what you said previously, where you said you dealt with your own issues and you obviously stepped into gratitude or you journal sort of thing. Well, I'm sorry, it was me who said I journaled. If somebody is having, like, let's say, a feeling of anxiety, I know we said it could be excitement, or if someone's dealing with a hard time, do you recommend, like, tracking sort of any sort of thoughts and things like that to sort of relate back to them?
Yeah, well, I suppose writing it down does make you feel, it's like even it's a to-do list, you know, whether that's speaking about your problems or just writing them down and journaling them, or journaling what you think you need to work on, is a great idea, you know, any way of getting it out your head.
Yeah.
Because that's when you're struggling, you're in your head, and any way to sort of get out your head for a minute, you know, they're obviously two great habits to deal with. Yeah, definitely writing down.
Yeah, amazing. Well, that will probably wrap up this podcast, mate. But before we finish, if there is anyone who is suffering with mental health issues, like Joe does amazing work, so you can find him on Instagram.
Yeah.
What would it be for Instagram?
At Joe the Life Coach and PT.
Yeah, and what have you got anything coming up next for you?
Well, I'm trying to book a seminar in for the next month or 6 weeks or so, just trying to find the right date. So, and anyone can come to that, can, you know, speak to me face to face if they want that bit of extra help, or come there and I'll try and teach them as much as I can to get out of whatever they're struggling with. Yeah, definitely. Like I said, definitely message Joe if you're feeling like you're in any sort of bad place, or reach out to anyone, like personal, close, family, friends. It's just the best thing to do. I think that's the best way to put it, sort of thing. It's better out than in. And that's it for this episode. If you're wanting to watch the next ones, you can follow Spotify and you'll get notified when they get uploaded. The episodes are also on YouTube as well, so you can subscribe on there and get notified when they get uploaded on there. My Instagram is @DylanMascord. I'll be posting clips on there. And thank you so much for listening.